50 years ago, I was in North Queensland, and the chaplain at one of our church schools, a boarding school, and part of my duty at that school was to teach religious education. And each year there was an examination in this religious education course, and I had the responsibility of setting the papers and marking the papers and awarding a prize. And this particular year I told the principal and the administration that yes, I have a first prize for the religious education exam, gave him the name, and he looked at it and he said, "I'm sorry, Garth, we cannot award the prize to that boy." And I said, "Why not? He got the best results. He is the top student in my classes, and he has the best result in the examination. What's the problem? He is a Buddhist, and we cannot give the religious education prize in a Christian school to a Buddhist." You should have seen the look on my face. But it looked like something me saying rather disrespectfully to a principal, "I'm sorry, sir, but that's the way it is." And the Buddhist lad got the prize at speech night. A year or two later, I moved down to Brisbane, again as the chaplain of a boarding Christian boys' school here, and had the responsibility again of teaching religious education. But my concern was not over the religious education at this particular instance. After being there at the school for some weeks, I noticed that students were lined up outside the male toilets before school, during the morning tea break, at lunchtime, and after school. And I soon became aware, within a few days of being at the school, the reason for this was that these boys were being taken into the male toilet and caned for various misdemeanours, behaviour problems or whatever. This disturbed me, and I made the comment that I find it very hard to believe that the boys at this school are so bad and have such terrible behaviour that they need this kind of treatment. I was making these noises, and one day a lad came to my chaplain's office, very disturbed. He had been caned. I'm not sure for what reasons. But his disturbance was not about how much it hurt, not about any injustice that he felt that he did not deserve this punishment. He said to me, "Sir, you know what I had to do in that male toilet?" I did know, but I said, "Tell me." And he said, "Well, we boys, we go in there to receive the cane, and you are caned on the behind, and you are asked to stand in front of the toilet in this position." He was Muslim. And you don't need me to tell you what that position is in the Muslim rakahs in their prayer. So these two events, early in my professional life as a chaplain in schools, Christian schools, I see as pivotal and as setting my direction for the rest of my professional life over the last 15 years. I have to find a way of understanding religious pluralism and how we treat each other, primarily in that time in schools, but more generally in the wider public. And I just want to briefly share with you how this led me over the last 50 years to do some a lot of work in this area, both in the UK and here in Queensland. And I'll compact those long years of experience just into a couple of short comments. I was visited by Professor John Hull, some of you may know him, of Birmingham University, not long after the incident of the Muslim boys' concern about caning at that school. By the way, it was soon outlawed, of course, here in Australia, and that's illegal to cane in school. I was very active in that sort of campaign for a while. But John Hull came, and I had the responsibility of looking after his program here in Brisbane. And talking to him, he suddenly said to me, "Garth, why don't you come to Birmingham and do our postgraduate degree, a master's degree in education, and help me, because Birmingham in England was the first local education authority at that time in 1973 to introduce a compulsory multi-faith religious education program in the Midlands of the Birmingham Education Authority." And so I did. With my family, we packed up, we went to Birmingham, and I did a master's degree with a thesis on the Christian mission and Christian involvement in multi-faith religious education. I was invited to stay or to apply for the job of director of a recently opened regional religious education centre. And I applied, and when they were interviewing me, and I had known the centre, Dr. Michael Grimmett had been the director, first director, he was leaving, and I was applying for that position. And in the interview they asked me, well, just how would you go about doing this job, and where would you take this centre? And I said, well, I see myself as somebody who on one hand holds the hand of the academics and the scholars who are talking about researching and so forth, interfaith, intercultural relationships. With the others, I want to hold the hands of the practitioners, the teachers, and I want the flow coming through and going back to each other of what you say, dialogue and diapraxis in the education world. I then came back here to Queensland, worked with the State Education Department, again focus on curriculum development, even in those days on the emerging national curriculum. And my responsibility was to ensure there was a place in there for multi-faith, pluralistic understandings of faith and spirituality and ethics. And that was a great experience at a national curriculum development. But as I got to retirement, I then thought, well, I've done what I can in education. Now I want to hold the hand of those theorists and researchers and scholars talking about intercultural relationships, multi-faith relationships, interfaith dialogue and so forth, and the hands of local people. And so I was talking about this in my local Uniting Church, the Aspley Uniting Church in the north side of Brisbane. People got interested, and they have what they call a community outreach committee, and they said, come in and talk to us and join our committee here. And they were setting out what were their mission goals. And they asked me to talk to them about this, and they decided, okay, we will add interfaith relationships in this local area as one of our primary mission objectives as a Christian community. And so they have stated in that they will reach out to people of other world religions who live and worship in our local area. And out of that eventually emerged the North Brisbane Interfaith Group. Now you can go to the website if you like to read our credo, which states our aims and what we believe. but we also added in the North Brisbane Interfaith group a statement about how we would approach our conversations to each other. And this is how it reads. In our conversations, we will affirm the importance and dignity of religious differences. We will avoid denigrating other religions in order to assert the superiority of our own religion. We will maintain a humble recognition that our proclamations about God's self-revelation are partial and provisional. We will refrain from using sacred texts, past historical events, and religious dogma to justify violence against individuals and/or communities. And the 120 people who are on our list, members of the North Brisbane Interfaith group, have been advised of this credo and invited to join us on that basis. Just a quick comment. This year we held 2 interfaith events on the North Brisbane and in the Aspley Uniting Church property. The first one in February was a combination of our own Interfaith Cafe, we called it, and the local Sikh Langar. I talked to Gurjeet and his wife from the Gurdwara and said, would you be game and your community willing to come and run a Sikh Langar in a uniting church, in a Christian church property? And he said, oh, well, we talked that coming in. They said, yes, we'll do it. So in February we had nearly 100 people of 7 different faiths gathered in a Christian hall being served under the Sikh Langar arrangements. The second one in June had an email from a lady in Scotland, in Glasgow, who was a major leader in Interfaith Scotland. She said, I'd seen your website. I'm coming to Brisbane, can I help you with the Interfaith? She was the first Muslim woman magistrate appointed in Scotland 20 years ago. And she came and arrived. We had the celebration on the first day of Ramadan, and we had the iftar meal, the local Muslim helping provide, etc., in a Christian hall on the first day of Ramadan, celebrated the iftar meal and prayer in a Christian church. Now, we've been hearing a lot during the last few days, a lot of the theory, a lot of the results of research and scholarship, and it's been a great experience for me to hold hand metaphorically and absorb that of them. I want to hold the hands now of those who live around North Brisbane and beyond to try and understand how we can translate this into reality. But I want to say that I believe all the great things that I've been hearing and our vision of a world in which all people of different race, different culture, different religions, respect and love and work together, I want to think it's an impossible dream. It's not going to happen in the next few years that I have left journeying on this planet through space with you. I don't think it's going to happen anywhere soon, a long way over the horizon of time and space. But as some of you may know, I've lifted that expression, an impossible dream, out of that song from Man of La Mancha, the impossible dream. So let me finish, though, with the last few words in the lyric of that song, because I think they convey what I feel and the passion I have for the last few years I have on this planet to give myself to the searching for that dream, trying to reach that unreachable star of interfaith goodwill, harmony and respect. The words of Joe Darien's song. And the world will be better for this, that one man, scorned, covered with scars, still strove with his last ounce of courage to reach an unreachable star, to fight the unbeatable foe, to dream the impossible dream.